Hi there guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing the next part 4 of the Z Fighters train with Goku. Now, last time we left off with pretty much just the end parts of the Saiyan Saga, which had a mini arc connected to it. But before we get into this part, I actually want to make a small little retcon right at the end. We jump back to where Piccolo killed Krillin, and at this point Goku is enraged and he begins to shake with anger. His ki, for brief seconds at a time, changes colour. Alongside his ki, his hair begins to glow a bright yellow, and it shakes slowly on and off, and his eyes go green, but only for a few seconds. But nothing happens. Before anything else can happen, Goku, like last time, charges Piccolo, and everything from here goes much like it did in canon. That's a small little retcon I wanted to make. Now let's jump back to after the offer the Saiyans made to the Z Fighters. Now, Goku's pretty annoyed in the fact that Vegeta wants immortality, and Vegeta seems to feel really smart about his most recent choice. However, one of the other surviving Z Fighter looks really distant. He's thinking about what he just saw happen to Goku. It was only brief, but Goku's power increased massively. It was the strongest thing he had ever sensed, if only for a brief second, and he wants to know more about it. But before he can really think too much more about it, Goku asks for his opinion on what they should do. With the two talking it over and deciding that they need to bring back their friends, with Tien being very reluctant about it, they eventually agree with Vegeta's offer. However, they are going to try and find a way to make sure that the Saiyans don't get immortality. Even if it's sneaky, they just want to make sure that they aren't out in the universe doing this. Now, like normal, Goku asked Bulma to install a gravity chamber on the ship she is currently making, and it's probably going to be made a bit faster. After all, the gravity chamber's already partially made, and ships are going to be a bit easier thanks to them having an idea of what to do because of the Namek ship that is there. So, over this time, while they wait for the ship to be built, Goku and Tien spend a lot of their free time training to make sure that when the Saiyans do recover, which they are letting slowly recover, they are ready to fight them if worse comes to worse, with the two mostly just sparring against one another. Now, after a while, Vegeta is actually in good enough shape to be moving around again. He was the least injured out of the two. At first, he would just move around doing whatever he wanted on the planet, however that didn't sit well with Goku. Goku soon made sure that Vegeta followed him all the time, and this happened after a small engagement between Goku and Vegeta, where Vegeta actually threatened Goku. Vegeta isn't at 100% right now, so Goku easily won a quick scuffle between them. After all, Goku's a bit stronger here, and Vegeta's not back up to full power. Now, this is a good thing for Vegeta and Bulma, because this means they both meet earlier here. Because, like I said, Goku is making the Prince follow him everywhere, and Nappa is under the watch of Tien, who is now currently stronger than the Big Saiyan. Now, like I said, Vegeta and Bulma do meet a bit earlier. They don't hit it off amazingly, but it's still enough where there's a bit of a spark there. Now, the reason Vegeta's being so compliant isn't just because he lost and is keeping his word. It's mostly because he needs a way off this planet, and the ship Bulma's building is the only way. Plus, he wants to become immortal during this time, so he's behaving himself. So is Nappa. Now, the day before the ship leaves for Namek, Goku spends this time with his son and wife, with Tien promising to watch over Vegeta, who is still not in great shape, so he believes he can win this fight. Gohan expresses his sadness that he won't be able to see his father for ages again. After all, Goku's only just come back from training for a year. Gohan isn't really spending too much time with his father. Not that he spent loads of time with him anyway in canon. However, this Gohan hasn't been put into the situation where he's have to fight for his own life. So it's a bit, he's not as tough as he used to be. And once everyone goes to sleep that night, Gohan can't seem to. And at some point actually sneaks off using the Nimbus to fly away. Now, the next day, Goku says goodbye to his wife, and both him and Chi-Chi assume that Gohan is either asleep or just too sad to say goodbye to his father. So Goku flies off, not wanting to bother his son. Now, when Goku arrives at Capsule Corp, he actually notices that Tien is holding Nappa by the collar of his armour and dropping the Big Saiyan. Seeing Tien holding the Saiyan like this actually makes Goku ask what was going on, with Tien explaining that the Big Saiyan tried to steal the ship last night, and he just stopped him. He was here all night, so he just wanted to make sure that he learnt his lesson. with Goku noticing that there are a few scruff marks on Tien. Now, Vegeta looks pretty pissed off at the moment, and it's mostly towards Nappa after all. He didn't really need to try and do anything there, but Nappa still had to go and do something stupid. Goku looks over towards both Saiyans and told them that they need to behave if they want to become immortal, or they'll just get murdered here. They already have the coordinates to this Namek place. With Goku saying that he's just keeping his end of the bargain, so keep yours. Now, the reason there is a gravity machine on the ship is just to give something for the fighters to do on their way to Namek, which is going to take them a week. And after a bit of prep, everyone gets into the ship and they take off, leaving for Namek. Goku apologises to Tien for leaving him to guard the ship alone last night, but Tien says it's okay, it wasn't too much of a challenge anyway. He just wants to make sure that they get their friends back, with Goku nodding, and then a third shout comes from behind saying, yeah. All four warriors turn around to see a young Gohan in a gi that looks a lot like his father's, and both Yamcha's and Krillin's, making Goku and Tien's jaw drop, almost hitting the floor. They can't understand why Gohan's here right now. Goku asks Gohan what is he doing here, with his son explaining how he wants to help bring back his father's friends, as he seemed really upset last time they saw each other. And he also wants to spend time with his father, as he hasn't spent too much time with him recently. He has been training, so he should be able to keep up with whatever his father's doing. This is Gohan's attempt to connect with his father. Goku, who feels really bad but really happy to hear that Gohan has been training, says that he's not sure if this is the best time to do this. After all, these Saiyans aren't the friendliest people. But he doesn't really have much choice. After all, they've already begun travelling. So, with no real other options, the five just begin to train, with it mostly being light-hearted because of Gohan. However, after a few days of training, Vegeta gets sick of this light-hearted training and actually turns on the gravity machine, putting it 20 times Earth gravity. Goku at first is pissed off with Vegeta and almost goes to punch him. However, he soon sees Gohan stood there, standing upright. He's feeling the effects, obviously, but he's still able to just about move around. This takes everyone by surprise. Even the Saiyans are impressed with the hybrid. The kid has grown amazingly strong, amazingly fast. So everyone begins to train in some intense gravity from now on. Now, the other Saiyans don't talk too much to the Z fighters, with Vegeta not really liking them, and Nappa not the friendliest person at the best of times. However, thanks to the inclusion of a younger Saiyan who's a bit oblivious to how bad these two are, manages to make Nappa crack just a little bit, and this is mostly because Nappa sees his home, his race, his people inside of the young Saiyan. He opens up a little bit to Gohan, and at some point, when explaining what he's been doing, he lets slip something about Frieza, which catches Goku's attention. After all, Goku remember hearing King Kai say something about someone super strong out there. Is it this Frieza guy? Hearing this, Vegeta is pissed off and shouts at Nappa, but when Goku inquires about Frieza, Vegeta reluctantly explains what and who Frieza is. And after hearing everything that Frieza put them through, Goku, Gohan, and even Tien feel really bad for the Saiyans. Plus Raditz, who Goku hasn't forgotten about, but just hasn't had time to do anything about his death. And they want to do something to show that they, want to help. Goku stands up and walks over to Vegeta, which takes Vegeta by surprise, and he offers out his hand, saying that he will help them stop Frieza, if they are willing to let him. The only downside will be you have to give up your immortality, and show that you're on our side. Shocked by this and almost pissed off, Vegeta wants to refuse. However, he thinks that this would be a good way to bring Frieza down, and it would also be a good way to get strong. And if this Kakarot person dies during this, and they somehow manage to kill Frieza, that means he can go and get his wish for immortality. Vegeta, being smart, does agree and actually accepts Goku's offer. Now, like I said, it comes at the price of Vegeta losing his immortality, which does piss Vegeta and Nappa off. However, the help to take down Frieza is definitely what they need. So upon arriving on Namek, in a nice and friendly means, they collect the Dragon Balls. Namek's in peace right now. There was no mention of Dragon Balls over the Scouter. This means that Frieza never heard anything about Dragon Balls, meaning that he never went to Namek. He's probably just wondering where his Saiyan lackeys have gone to. He's not too bothered. Hopefully they died. Just saves him a bit of effort. But thankfully for the Z Fighters, the search for the Dragon Balls is quite pleasant. The Namekians are first very reluctant to help. However, after sensing how good Goku, Tien, and Gohan are, they soon do begin to help, with the likes of Dende and Cargo actually offering to help them find the Dragon Balls. The only issue is they don't really trust Nappa and Vegeta. However, they don't have much of a choice. After all, Nappa and Vegeta are relatively strong here. They've just done 6 days of training after all, and I'll cover power levels in a bit. Now, like I said, this is quite a pleasant thing. The only issue is that Vegeta and Nappa are being very heavily followed by a lot of warrior Namekians. Every warrior Namekian they meet in a village is pretty much following them to make sure that Nappa and Vegeta don't do anything. And when they come across the likes of Nail, Guru does get a good idea of how good everyone there is, other than Vegeta and Nappa, but he can sense something small in both of them. So he tells his children pretty much to just leave them alone, and can Dende or Cargo help them make the wish on the Dragon Ball. Now, this probably took them an hour or two, but they did manage to collect all the Dragon Balls, with Dende making the dragon appear, and then the Z Fighters reciting their wishes. The first wish is to bring back the one known as Kami on Earth, and when this happens, Piccolo is also brought back. However, thinking fast and already thought of this, Goku then says seal away the one known as Piccolo, and make sure he can never escape, which Porunga grants, putting Piccolo in sort of an indestructible box, with a little seal mark on it. And when they try to wish back some of their other friends, and they find out they can't, they say that they will leave the dragon for now. After this happens, they actually ask the Namekians if the Dragon Balls will take long to be reactivated, with Dende explaining how it will only take them about 2 months for your time. With Goku and friends happy to hear this, they all ask if it would be okay if they stayed on Namek to use the Dragon Balls when they're active again, with the Namekians agreeing to help. And like this, the group spends time on Namek training, learning a little bit, and over time, Nappa, out of the two Saiyans, begins to become a bit more friendly and actually talks a lot more. This being mostly because of Gohan. Gohan has really, being pretty much an oblivious child, has really opened up Nappa and made him a much softer person. He isn't fully good yet, but he's on the right track. Vegeta isn't on his way yet, but he's getting pushed down the path quite forcefully by Goku. He sees a great training partner in Goku, and at some point actually saw something which caught his eye. Much like what happened with Piccolo, Goku at some point almost reawakened that power. Of course, I am talking about the Super Saiyan state here, and seeing this, Vegeta and Nappa are both very impressed. This was another thing to help them slowly come down the road to become good. Like I said, this is pretty much mostly thanks to Gohan. However, soon into the few months of training, him and Tien developed some sort of friendship. Keep in mind, Nappa never killed anyone that Tien really knew. In canon, he killed Chaozu killed himself to try and take down Nappa. However, that never happened here, so Tien doesn't really hold a grudge against him. The only issue Tien has with him is the fact that he's a Saiyan who tried to destroy his planet. But other than that, no, the two are quite good friends. Like I said, Nappa's pretty much on his way down the way of being good, and he's only been stopped by Vegeta, who hasn't really changed too much. On the plus side, he has spent time with Goku, and Goku rubs off on people the right way, and he's slowly becoming good, but he's very, very far behind Nappa in that sense. However, Vegeta is far beyond Nappa in power. I'll cover that in a bit, but I've just got to cover one more thing. Now, when the time comes to make a wish on the Dragon Balls, the person who is responsible for, keeping the Dragon Balls alive has shifted over to Elden Murray. He is now the creator of the Dragon Balls on Namek, and he's made some changes, with one of them being that you can wish back multiple people at a time. Hearing this, Goku and everyone else have a little bit of a celebration about it, and when the dragon is summoned after collecting the balls, they ask to bring back all those killed by Piccolo Jr., which would be Krillin and Yamcha. Next up, they follow up with the wish to bring all those who died in the Saiyan attack back to life, which does get granted. However, Porunga is very heavily drained now, and when they ask Porunga to bring both Krillin and Yamcha to Namek, he explains how he cannot make that wish at the moment. He is too heavily drained after bringing back so many people. After a while, they decide that they need to get in contact with Kami, which they manage to do, and once they explain to him the situation, they also explain how he needs to send both Krillin and Yamcha to Namek using the Earth Balls, which he can do. After all, the Earth Balls were never used to bring back Goku and Krillin. After all, they never died. And finally, they need one more wish to ask Prunga. With them not really knowing what to wish for, Goku has a thought and turns around to Vegeta asking if he knows where Frieza is, with Vegeta explaining that he doesn't. Goku then turns around to Prunga and says, "Can you give us the location of Lord Frieza?" With the dragon giving everyone there the information of where to find Lord Frieza. And shortly afterwards, both Krillin and Yamcha appear. The group have a little bit of a celebration, which is a little bit awkward. After all, Krillin and Yamcha haven't been keeping in touch too much, so they don't understand that Nappa and Vegeta are actually on their side for now, with Nappa pretty much being on their side fully. However, once it's all explained to both Yamcha and Krillin, they both want to help take down Frieza. After all, he sounds like a big threat that could cause a lot of damage to Earth if it was to ever show up. So, once they've heard this, and Goku explains that they know where he is, everyone gets into the ship, which has been stocked up with Namek food. After all, they're not sure how long this journey is going to be. It's very crammed in there. After all, they've just gone from having 5 members to having an extra 2, and it was already only built for 4. It's getting a bit filled, however there is still plenty of room. And then they head off to the location where they will find Frieza. And I'm not going to cover the fight with Frieza today. I'm not even going to really do much else after this. I'm just going to give everyone's power levels before the fight with Frieza, and then I'm going to call this episode here. Sorry, nothing interesting has happened. But first up, we would have Goku. It started at a power level of 28,800, and he's gone up to 457,600, thanks to his light training with Tien for a month, and then his training on the way to Namek in Gravity, then his time spent on Namek training in a group where he got to fight against Vegeta a lot. He reached a very good power level here, and he's also got a better understanding of his Kaioken. Next up in line would be Vegeta, who's started at a power level of 18,000, got to a power level of 405,000. Thanks to a Zenkai after the fight on Earth, he got a good boost, and then some gravity training on the way to Namek, and some sparring with Goku, who he got a lot closer to in his power. Nappa is next, and he started at a power level of about 5,000, and he got up to 350,000. All that pretty much applied for Vegeta goes to the same thing for Nappa, with the exception being that he did most of his training with Gohan and Tien. Next up is Gohan, and he started at a power level of about 30 to 100. Put him up to 375,000. He got pushed hard, and he wants to be, very close to his father, so he is pushing himself hard. And thanks to this, he grew a lot stronger. And another thing that really helped him is he got a new friend, Nappa, who also became a bit more like a mentor to him. So he grew quite substantially. Tien is next up, and he started at a power level of 9,750 to 300,000. He was training with people who was a lot stronger than him and grew a lot faster. But he developed a sort of friendship with Nappa and a rivalry, which did help him keep up a lot more. Plus, he did some light training with Goku before the Saiyans fully healed, so that helped him in the long run. Krillin had a power level of 20,625. He got up to 345,000. Thanks to his time on King Kai's planet with Yamcha, he grew a lot stronger, but he wasn't training all the time, so he didn't grow as much as he possibly could have. Next up would be Yamcha, who had a power level of 11,700, and he went up to 340,000. He spent his time training with Krillin, but a lot of the time Krillin would disappear sometimes during his training, so he did train quite a bit by himself. This did help him catch up with his friend though. And much like this, the group head off, with only a few days between them and Frieza. Everyone isn't sure how this fight will go. Vegeta and Nappa remember that Frieza's power level was about 550,000, not knowing that he can transform. So they believe that if Goku was to push himself and use his Kaioken, that he would win. And Vegeta believes he could win possibly himself as well. But like I said, this is pretty much where I'm ending this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. I'm sorry this wasn't very action-filled, but it's just a nice little filler part to get me to the next part where I can cover a lot more. But I hope everyone had a good day or a great night, and I'll see you next time.